not that we're going to say anything inflammatory. It's that we're going to say things that we're not allowed to say. Look to who you're not allowed to criticize. That's where the problem is, right? Well, I got news for you. Who are we not allowed to criticize? It's Davos. That's who they just told us this week. We're not allowed to criticize them or any of their policies.
NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. Threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
The world has failed, I tell you. The world has failed yet again.
Hi, this is an extract of a much longer video. If you want to watch the whole video, you can find it on ODYSEE, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. It will also show up on 3Speak and on Rumble, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey, or bit.ly/CryptoRich3Speak, or bit.ly/CryptoRichRumble. Hi everybody, welcome. I'm going to stop saying this is Crypto Rich getting rich with crypto, because we're not. We're just laughing and commenting on the craziness that's going on in the world. I'm joined by Tom Luongo and Alex Krainer. Extraordinary commentators. Please follow them and subscribe to them and use their services. Tom, where can people find you?
You can find me over at my blog at tomluongo.me. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728, where the very worst version of me will show up every day because I control the feed. And you can follow me on Patreon, of course, and support the work over Patreon/GoldGhosts and Guns, where you can sign up for the newsletter and the private blogs and the podcast and all the rest of it. So
yeah, and those are all great. And Tom is bad on Twitter, but he is entertaining and sharp, as is your writing, Tom. Alex, where can people find you?
Likewise, on Twitter, my handle is @NakedHedgie, and they can also find me on Substack, Alex Krainer's Trend Compass.
Yes, and you support people with trading, from like following trends. And
yes, I also provide a daily trend following newsletters, producing directional exposure and timing signals for about 200 financial and commodities markets. And I always offer 1 month trial free of charge with no strings attached. So if anybody can benefit from that kind of a service, they're welcome to request.
Very good. And I have all the links in the description below. And
I thought Ursula von der Leyen's speech was particularly revealing, because what did she say? She says that our greatest problem is not the wars. It's not the climate. Who knew? We all thought the climate was the biggest thing. It's not the pandemics. It's the misinformation and disinformation, which most of the rest of us pretty much recognize as truth, or at the very least as freedom of expression. So she's admitting that this is the biggest problem for them, and she's also admitting why, because it's making it very, very difficult for them to implement solutions to the most pressing challenges of the world, blah, 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 right? But that's almost exactly what she said. So it means, in other words, that they can't really do what they intended to do unless they have full and complete control of the narrative, and unless they can fully and completely manipulate us into following along and complying, which is where they're failing. So that also tells us that all we have to do to defeat them is continue doing what we're doing, discovering the truth, assimilating the truth, and disseminating the truth as best we can. And they're going to try to censor us. They're going to try this and that. But it's impossible to make an airtight barrier between the world and truth.
So, and now where they're going next, I don't know that. That's what we've been talking about now for the last 20 or 30 minutes is, what are they going to do next? They're going to continue to escalate. They need a war somewhere. And they're desperately lashing out across all the theaters: the Middle East, Ukraine, China, period. And look, I was just, as Alex was talking, I was making sure that I was because we did this morning. I literally hadn't had a chance to even catch up on the news. So I was just scrolling through my Twitter feed, and what do I see? Pakistan and Iran this morning are getting ready to restore diplomatic ties. But I thought last week they were going to war because they sent missiles at each other. Because what a shock! We can do the math, folks. MI6 knew this was coming, started to try and create a border skirmish between Iran and Pakistan. And this is the American-controlled government in Pakistan. This isn't Imran Khan's government. This is the one that they installed, is now restoring diplomatic ties to Iran. Like you're talking, so on Monday we were talking about Iran and Pakistan going to war. And what a shock. So briefly, I'm like, so MI6, how does it feel with that stick up your ass? Because, so Rich, you're on mute. You want to speak. This is Pakistan. This is important. So yes, I brought it up on purpose. I wanted to get you into the conversation.
No, thank you. Just on that, good to mention MI6 because the role that the British play isn't really understood.
No.
And I noticed that with my family because we're following what's going on in the Middle East and what's going on with Pakistan and everything. But the new British ambassador came to Pakistan, was appointed, and then it was a few days later that we had the removal of Imran Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been putting the feelers out and everything about what's going on in Pakistan and looking here and there. And I've had to be careful because I can't comment on the situation, can't be critical of the Pakistani government, the way that it is currently, the way that they operate currently.
Hey, if it helps, Pakistani government is the best.
We want to keep Rich out of jail.
So what are you going to do? You're going to get squeezed out because you have no chance at all to maintain your order. What does that mean? Well, that means that the Western financial institutions, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, European banks, are going to lose control of all that collateral, which is massive. And that's, I think, only a question of time. It's not a question of whether, it's just a question of when. And I think we're not looking at a 10-year thing. I think we're looking at the next year or two.
Wow.
And I'm telling you that the people who don't have any collateral are the ones that are trying to keep the collateral as cheap as possible for their banks, because their banks are the farthest underwater. And it's not JP Morgan, it's not Goldman Sachs, and it's not Morgan Stanley. Sorry, it's Commerce Bank, it's Barclays, okay? It's Credit Agricola, it's Intesa Sanpaolo, okay? It's these banks.
Here's what I like to say about Israel. It seems to me that that Israel is being sacrificed right at this very minute. And that it's being sacrificed almost without any safety precautions, that it could end up being the suicide of Israel.
I did an interview
I'm distracted right now.
with an Orthodox Rabbi Beck in North London. And I actually went to see him because he said, you want to interview me, meet me in person. He said him and his family, they left Israel to move to the UK as a protest. He said, Orthodox Jews don't support Zionism. We don't support Zionism. And I asked him, I said, well, what's your solution for the issue, for what to happen with Israel and Palestine? And he said, well, our solution is for Jews and Muslims to live together side by side as equals, as
one state, right?
Iran, as we do in Morocco. One state solution, as we're doing in Iran currently.
And there is a beautiful Jewish community in Iran. There is a hospital in Iran, a Jewish hospital, completely Jewish, founded by the government, completely. Mm. The Jews have their own MP. Even there is only 30,000 Jews in the rate to have an MP. It's about 500,000. And Jews have their own MP representative in the parliament. So I coming with a message of peace. Let's live together like we live for centuries together. This is my message. Yeah.
So power to people like him and the others.
Yes, exactly.
So the point being is that, and again, it's not that we're going to say anything inflammatory, it's that we're going to say things that we're not allowed to say, okay? And but the truth is that that the line is starting to shift back into a direction that's more rational, and that now the line has moved away from, the old adage that look to who you're not allowed to criticize. That's where the problem is, right? Well, I got news for you. Who are we not allowed to criticize? It's not the Jews, folks.
Yep.
You know, in the Dave Chappelle sense, the Jews, right? It's Davos. That's who they just told us this week. We're not allowed to criticize them or any of their policies. Okay. It's moved. The line has moved somewhere else.
Whoa. And then the other thing that I think gets ignored or people aren't conscious of certainly within the UK, is the animus, the historical animus between Britain and Russia, and how it shapes their relations. And you know, I can see, because I go to Pakistan and I see the animus between India and Pakistan, and I'm out of that. So I'm able to go there and I can see it as an outsider. And I can draw, and when I go to Pakistan and I see how Russia is represented in the Russian media, even though Pakistan historically hasn't been close to Russia. Sorry, the Pakistani media, Pakistan has been closer to China. I said, oh, it's a very different picture to the one we get here. So there's this animus that the British were never able to subjugate those dirty Slavs. Not my turn of phrase, by the way, but those Russians. No. And nobody has been, really. Tom, Alex, thank you so much. It's been such a joy and a real education, certainly for me, and I hope for people watching. If you have any comments, questions, put them in the description below. Please share this video, and I'll have the links to Tom in the description below. Not the links to Tom, but the links to his website and stuff. And Alex, your link.
I don't want to be doxxed. I don't think
That's right.
it's already bad enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure, and warm greetings to all the viewers and listeners.
Absolutely. And Alex, I'll talk to you Friday when we're on with Sean Newman.
Yep. All right.